Hello, Parker Woods first, second, and third graders. We are back. It's week number 2. That means it's assignment number 2. You should have already turned in assignment number 1. Your names. Those of you who got it uploaded in Artsonia should receive some feedback from me. I'm finishing that up today. Those of you who have not turned it in yet, do that ASAP. That assignment was due on Friday at 3:45. At the end of the week, every week, your assignment is due. If you are not sure what that assignment is, you need to go back to the week 1 folder and revisit. The Tuesday lesson videos give you all the assignment details. That was to write your name in the block or bubble letters and fill that in with some designs. We talked about Zentangle designs. Those are patterns made out of line. You should have done your line assignment. You should have done some sketches in your sketchbook while you practiced. That's all the work you should have been working on through week 1. Remember, it's Monday and Tuesday lessons, but that leaves Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as art time for you. And I expect to see that within your work. So you should have an assignment to turn in. But let's talk about this week. This week we're going to build on last week. Last week we talked about lines and we talked about utilizing text for our art. And the text that we used, we created our name out of that text. Now we're going to take text and we're going to play with it. We're going to create a piece of abstract art. So first we should get started and remind ourselves, what's abstract art? All right. So what is abstract art? Abstract art is art that doesn't try to copy how things look. Instead, it uses shapes and colors as things in their own right. In this case, we are going to play around with lines and letters. Or it suggests a mood or idea. Russian artist Kandinsky was one of the first abstract artists. Some of you might remember doing the concentric circle artwork in the style of Kandinsky. Kandinsky was inspired when the landscape he had painted fell on its side, revealing a collection of interesting abstract shapes. At first, his abstract pictures had some resemblance to the real world, but gradually the lines and shapes took a life of their own. To Kandinsky, colors were like music. He had a condition known as synesthesia, which meant he could hear colors and see sounds. This piece right here is a famous piece called Improvisation 28. It was painted by Kandinsky back in 1912. To Kandinsky, yellow sounded like trumpets, and light blue sounded like a flute. In music, improvisation is a way of creating tunes spontaneously, just as Kandinsky created his abstract paintings. A few years later, we meet Mondrian. Mondrian started making very different kind of abstract art, following a set of rules he came up with. He used only straight lines and blocks of colors. His approach is known as the style. Mondrian wanted his art to be purely abstract with no relation to anything he could see. He believed this would create a special sense of balance and harmony. This piece here is called Composition with Large Red Plane, Yellow, Black, Gray, and Blue. It was painted by Mondrian in 1921. Abstract art may not try to show things as they look, but it often echoes the shapes or colors of real things. For example, the 2 snuggled up stones here of the sculpture are meant to make you think of a mother and a child. This was sculpted by Barbara Hepworth in 1934. So now we're going to create our own piece of abstract art using letters of the alphabet, utilizing that text, and we're going to do it being inspired by a couple of different artists. We're going to look at some of their artwork now to give ourselves a little bit of inspiration. Jasper Johns was born in Georgia in 1930 and moved to New York City to pursue a career as an artist, finding fame in the 1950s for his paintings of ordinary, everyday objects. What do you see in his work? Stuart Davis is another American abstract artist. In his work, you can see his jazz-influenced, bold, colorful work. What letters do you recognize, or words do you recognize in his artwork? Retna, or Marquis Lewis, was born in 1979, is a contemporary artist. In his work, we see that how he combined the alphabet with hieroglyphics to create his own abstract alphabet art. He's known for his street art in Los Angeles. This art assignment should be a lot of fun. We're going to make it a little bit like a game, where you're going to start writing down letters, and you're going to turn your paper, write down some more letters, turn your paper, write down some more letters, and you're going to keep doing that until you kind of fill your space with text. Now you can choose to do that in a couple ways. You could choose to write something. Maybe you're going to write your name, the letters of your name as you turn. Maybe you're going to write some words that you like, that you're inspired by. Maybe you're going to start at the beginning of the alphabet and you're going to keep turning your page and you're going to write the entire alphabet. Okay, we saw lots of different examples of that throughout the artwork that we just looked at. I'm going to show you one way to do it, but you don't have to follow along with me. I gave you three different ideas right there of how you could do this. So if you don't want to follow along exactly with me, you can just take the assignment at the end of the demonstration and let that be your starting off point. All right, I'm ready to get started. Now, I have a piece of my white project paper. I do not want to see you creating your final art projects on lined paper. You picked up an art supply kit and I expect to see you use it. Put your artwork on really nice paper and make it your nicest, neatest work. On your paper, you're going to start with pencil. I'm going to start with a Sharpie just because I want my lines to be dark enough that you can see them clearly through the video. But you should start with a pencil because, as always, if you make a mistake, you want to be able to erase it. With a Sharpie marker, I can't quite erase my mistakes. I'll have to be creative to fix them. So what we're going to do is you're going to start with your paper. You're going to start writing some letters. You're going to write your letters in any font that you want. We practice those bubble letters and those block letters. So you can do it that way, or you can kind of just write them plainly. We saw a few different examples from the artists that we looked at. So you can decide how you want to write your letters. But I would like to see you build on some of your block letter skills from last week. Remember, the more that we practice something, the better we're going to get. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a couple letters. I want you to think about changing the size, make some small, make some bigger, move around the paper, and then we're going to turn the paper. So our letters are going to end up kind of filling the space in lots of different ways. So I think I'm going to choose to write something. And so I think the thing I'm going to write is Miss Tess makes a mess. Because I think it'll be fun, and I think it might look a little bit like a chaotic, colorful mess, and so I think it'll be kind of funny. So I'm going to start with just the first couple letters, but I'm not going to write them next to each other. I'm going to write them in some block letters, maybe not all of them. So I'm going to put that there. I might go ahead and turn it already. You can do as many as you want to before you turn it. You could do one and then just keep on going. Remember, this is abstract art, so it doesn't really matter how I decide to put them down here, if they're jumbled, or even if somebody can tell what it says. We looked at that last little bit of Imagining your art piece is going to look a little bit like a bowl of alphabet soup. So I get Miss to, there's going to be a lot of S's on this page when I finish. So I have Miss Tess. Let's turn it again. Well, so far I've avoided having my letters kind of touch or overlap, but I don't have to keep that up. You can overlap your letters. I could make a really big S through here. Actually, I'm on an A. I could make a really big A through there, but for now, I think I'm gonna keep playing around with having them near each other, but not yet touching or overlapping. All right. So you can tell I'm really trying to fill up the space. So if I did all small letters, I'd really have a hard time filling the space. And filling the space is always a really important part. So I think I have Miss Tess makes. Remember, you don't have to write anything. You could just keep putting a different letter down. It could make absolutely no sense. You're just using letters to create art. Miss Tess makes a... Remember, you could also just start at the beginning and do the whole alphabet. Okay, 2 more S's to do. Where do I think they should go? I think. So you decide, where are your letters going to go? How are you going to fill this space? Which direction do you want them to point? Last one. But maybe an exclamation point is in order. Because sometimes I really make a big mess. Okay, so I wrote out my sentence, or my saying of my Miss Tess makes a mess. Now it's time for me to add color. So you're going to use your crayons to create your color. Think about using lots of different colors. Remember the art that we looked at, almost all of it was really bright and bold and using lots of colors. So I want you to have fun with the color. I want to see you work really hard to stay in the lines of your artwork, to do your nicest, neatest work. I don't want to see you rush this. Okay, you have lots of time to work on this, and I want to see you really put your time and energy into this. All right, I'm going to set off to color mine, and then I'll come back and I'll show you my finished piece, and we'll walk through what all you need to do to earn your cheeseburger A on this assignment. I wanted to show you my final piece. Remember, I did Miss Tess makes a mess. And you can kind of, as you follow it, since you know what it says, my abstract art becomes a little bit more clear. After I colored in all my letters, I saw these spots, these weird shapes, where my letters had closed in a space. So I decided to outline them and color them in. You can see I played around with warm and cool colors. Miss Tess Makes a Mess was colored in warm colors, and then the spaces in between, for the most part, were colored in cool colors. I even tried to pair up some of my complementary colors next to each other to make my artwork pop. We'll talk more about complementary colors and colors next week.